The main problem of capitalism, as I hear it from you, is the middleman, the capitalist who stands between producer and consumer. But I'd like to make sure that we can identify and explicitly flesh out the, I guess, secondary major problems you see in capitalism, so we can see if I've identified them correctly. And the first, I think, is that, again, according to you, so tell me if I'm wrong, capitalism organizes businesses, factories, etc., in an undemocratic way so that the middleman has control rather than the producer or the consumer. Then you indicated this, capitalism is inherently unstable in the sense that we have these massive crashes. I think you said every 4 to 7 years, and that certainly coheres with my loose following of the news. And then the third thing is that capitalism perpetuates and worsens inequalities of income, of wealth, of social standing, of access to resources in general. Am I right here that those are the main economic problems with capitalism as you see it?
Yes, I would. Yes. The short answer is yes. I would only qualify it slightly by saying those are the macro problems. In other words, if you look at the economy as a whole, it is unstable. By the way, the 4 to 7 years, there's an agency here in the United States called the National Bureau of Economic Research, NBER. You can Google it, you'll learn all about it. They keep track of the instability. So I rely on their they are not leftist, Marxist, or anything like that. None of the basic sources of my data come out of people like me. I have to rely on people governed by very different priorities. Anyway, the NBER has that number. Every 4 to 7 years is the average business cycle from peak to peak or trough to trough. That's the way the history has worn out. So on the macro level, gross inequality, and I mean gross, I don't know if you're familiar with these numbers. The billionaires of our world, there's only a few thousand billionaires in the world. But if you add them all together, they own together more than the bottom half of the planet, which is now in the neighborhood of 3.5 billion people. So 2,000 together have more wealth than 3.5 billion. I mean, you have to go back to ancient Egypt, pharaohs, pyramids, to get anything like this level of inequality. Yet the interval from the pyramids in Egypt to today has been an interval constantly affected by people, religious leaders, political leaders, who have screamed and argued for equality. You know, like Washington and Jefferson, all men are created equal. Bullshit, right? They're not. That was a desire, that was a hope, that was a goal, that was a utopian image, whatever you want to call it. People have wanted, in large numbers, an equality that they've never been able to institute. So it keeps being a goal, but the reality, no. And capitalism is in many ways the worst, because it went further in. Look, the slogans of the French Revolution, which was the end of feudalism in France, 1789, the slogans were liberté, égalité, fraternité. In English, liberty, equality, brotherhood. Okay? The United States Revolution around the same time, democracy. We don't have any of those things. Those are wild hopes, but they're not realized. If I was once asked, what is Marx's task in his writing? Here's my answer. Marx loved the capitalist revolution. He loved the French Revolution, and he deeply admired, we know that from his writings and his letters, the American Revolution. Liberty, equality, fraternity, democracy. I love that. But he comes 50 years after that, and he looks around and he says, they promised that the overthrow of feudalism, we would get capitalism plus liberty, equality, fraternity, and democracy. We got the capitalism. We didn't get those other things. So my task, Marx says to himself and his audience, is to explain to the world and myself what happened. Why did capitalism betray the promises its leaders made that by getting rid of the lord and the serf, by throwing out the old church that governed the feudalism of Europe, we would have these great things? You know, he loved the symphonies of Beethoven. Beethoven's symphonies are the celebration of liberty, equality, fraternity, and the army of Napoleon liberating all of Europe from feudalism. Marx's task and ours, mine, the people who come next. What the hell went wrong? And Marx's answer, which is our answer too, what capitalism could never face, that the obstacle for capitalism in bringing us what it promised, the liberty, equality, fraternity, democracy in the Declaration of Independence or the Declaration of Human Rights, is capitalism itself. Of course it can't see that. That's the psychology. You know, you can see the flaw in the next person, but it's you. You can't see it in you.